Do it, man.
Right, hang on. Right, we are live, apparently. Right, guys, sorry about that. For some reason, the credit roll has decided to stop working. I just had it on screen before we were about to roll it, so this show actually goes without credits. I apologise. So welcome to the Now Debate. I'm Jared Walters with my good friend Richard Oliver, and tonight we are doing an Ask Us Anything. Just keep the comments nice and clean, please. We don't want any dirty business here. Richard, how are you?
I am good, but I'm good. Yes. Just trying to get through the madness that is lockdown 2021. But I'm hanging in there.
Craziness, which is lockdown 2021. Well, one of the ways we've elected to do this tonight, which was your idea, so anything goes wrong, I'm blaming you. And you can blame me, of course. It strikes me one thing before we go into this. The last, 5 videos now, I've wore the same jumper. My Homer Simpson Christmas jumper. So just so anyone does ever think about this, I do actually wash it. It's just it's my favourite jumper, and it's like minus God knows what here. It's the warmest jumper I own, so that's why it looks like I never change my shirt.
Yeah.
This has been.
It's that cold in. It's that cold in Wales. I seen 2 polar bears clutching around a fire.
Yeah,
That's how cold it is here at the moment.
definitely. So we have some questions to ask. We've been asked some questions before the show. A couple of you have actually given us questions privately that they would like answered on the show. And we hope that you guys would join us in the chat today to discuss anything basically surrounding our messages for the Council of 12, the paranormal, the ufology, ghosts, poltergeist, spiritual development, anything we can think of basically. Conspiracies, what's going on in the world, just anything and everything that we've got. So the first question, before we go to the questions, Rich, have you got any updates or things you'd like to say? And I have a Welsh cup of tea.
No, it's, you know what, it's a bit hard to get your head around all the information that's coming out at the moment. I mean, I've been reading things about Elon Musk has made a brain chip that he's been plugging games into monkeys or some nonsense. Apparently, the Russians have made a flying Tic Tac. China is about to jump on Mars. I mean, you don't know what's the truth at the moment. There's so many stories flying out there. They're just being, dealt out like a poker dealer. But yeah. So no, nothing major. Just so much going on at the minute. It's just day after day, there's something new. So.
Well, just I want to welcome all the new people that have joined our channel and say thank you to Ben and Lainey for the shout out they did for us last week. I did put something on the code update video, but I just wanted to say thank you as well live. It's a genuine thank you from the heart, and I know if there's anything you want to say about that as well, Rich, and just welcome to the new subscribers.
Yeah, same thing. We had couple of 100 subscribers off Amy and Ben shout out, and they choked me up. They did, the little buggers, but yeah, it's lovely, man. It's lovely. It's nice. Well, we just did well, and I think they understand that now. I think they know we just had to help them. We wasn't trying to push anything on them or trying to make a circus out of it. We just wanted to genuinely help them on their journey. Basically, so if they ever got any worries or concerns, they can just ask.
The same goes for you guys. That's the primary reason we're here. Is to help. By helping other people with the paranormal, it helps us increase our knowledge, and it helps us understand, things that we've gone through better. The point of all this is to build a community out of it, of people that have gone through these experiences. And, one thing I've learned since going on this journey, and I'm sure you share this, Rich, not trying to speak for you or anything, but the more you go down this journey and the more people you speak to, the more people that you come across that are going down this journey. Yeah. And, the more you want to see them succeed, and it's like being able to give a message like that was just profound. It was profound on so many levels to be able to transcribe that message and give it to them, because it it validated things for us as well, because we've had these messages now for years, and you know, it's created so many things around us, and we've always said that, you know, these messages that we've had from the Council of 12, from Jonathan, from Spirit, from whoever, and these experiences we've had, you know, we have always wanted to share them, because it feels as if they are something that should be shared and should be, you know, brought out to life. But the first question
and the friends and the friends we've made out there. The friends.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely.
We've made some incredible friends out doing this, like,
all around the world.
All around the world.
All around the world, you know, in countries that I couldn't even fathom. You know, and in the last year, the people that we've had the opportunity to speak to and share experiences with and learn from, you know, it's like when we do development groups, I always say, don't think of me as a teacher, and you know, the same for any of us on this journey. We're learning just as much as anyone else. And, you know, with every new video, with every new contact, with every new communication, with every new experience, it helps us learn something new and helps us, you know, shape and understand our reality better. So I just want to say thank you for that, and it's amazing to have so many comments from people and people sharing the videos, the brilliant meditation. Guys, if any of you want to do a guided meditation, you would do worse than having a look at the brilliant one that Richard did on Sunday. Absolutely fantastic meditation. And I've watched and I've created and done meditations, Rich. And yeah, okay, people could say I'm slightly biased, but I genuinely enjoyed doing that meditation. I genuinely felt there was something that come together in that, but
yeah, I had good feedback, man. I had really nice feedback, and you know, that's important. That is feedback, because you know, you can make it better and you can improve it, and you can do things that, you know, that you can change it a little bit to help different types of people in the different fields and what they're experiencing. So it does help. Feedback is important.
Yeah,
it does give us, you know, we get better from it.
Yeah, and we have each time. Each time we have feedback from you guys and we discuss it amongst ourselves. You know, it's one of them. Like, so should we get on to some of the questions? Richard, are you still with us? We seem to have lost Richard during this stream. We have had a few technical issues. I'm just going to try and get him back. So I apologise for this. We seem to have lost a connection with Richard. I'm just going to... Can you guys still see me? Just to make sure that you guys... It's not actually me that's gone down. No, my internet is fine. I'm sorry about this, guys. We've kind of lost Richard during stream. If you bear with me a second, I will try and get him back for you. I apologise for this. We are having some technical difficulties. Can you guys see and hear us okay? Can you let us know in the chat, please? If you can see me and hear me okay. I'm going to try and get hold of Richard again now. I apologise for this slight issue. Seem to be getting some sort of response here. Right, Richard, answer your Skype. I'll try ringing him again. I apologise for this. Well, this is going well today. Right, we've got you back. Yay!
I don't know what happened then, but I got something to want to have a conversation and kicked me straight out of Skype and out my phone. I just checked the internet. I don't know what that was.
No, our internet seems to be, yeah. Well, I apologise for that, guys. That was a slight issue that we had with Richard's internet on your end. Yeah, I've noticed a lot of internet problems lately. I've noticed it on Xbox. I've noticed it on my phone. Well, you had a problem with YouTube earlier.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's happening with like electrical companies and these smart meters. I mean, the power supply companies at the moment. Oh, I tell you what, they're getting up some criminal acts at the minute. Criminal, and it's about time they got their asses spanked for it. That's me.
Well, there's something. Yeah. So should we, without further ado, guys, I apologise for the delay. So let's go into the first question. So this question here is from, I'm just going to bring it up on screen now. This question here is from Jamie Richin, and Jamie asks, what are your views on Sasquatch? And I'm giving that one to you, buddy, because you probably have a lot more knowledge on that one than I do.
Well, I personally, now I've watched people like Josh Gates over the years, and I personally completely and utterly believe in him. It's a really amazing story about the volcano Mount St. Helens when it blew up, and about it was a ranger that wrote the story. I've been trying to find the guy's name, but the story is kind of it's a bit difficult to find. I believe. I mean, you've got some sort of land in America, right? Just for example, and you've got forests there that are thousands of square miles, thousands, and it's so isolated. And these beings, these creatures, could live quite easily and never ever be disturbed. And that's what this ranger's saying from Mount St. Helens. He said he worked as a ranger for 40 years, and he heard lots of stories from hunters and people camping in the area, but he never saw one until Mount St. Helens erupted. And Josh Gates famously found a footprint. And I completely believe in Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Yeti. I 100% believe it's completely feasible, and they do exist. It's just, I think, if we found them, first thing we do is put them in a zoo, probably, because that's the type of, that's the way people are. So it's a good job they haven't really been found, in my eyes. That answers that question. I 100% believe.
I neither believe nor disbelieve. I've not really had that much interest. The closest thing I've had with cryptids was Hellier, when we watched Hellier last year, and that was obviously a story that started with like Goblins, a reporter of Goblins, if I remember correctly, and they found that footprint, and I thought, wow, that was quite strange, and how that connected to everything else. It's one of them things where I would not be surprised if it gets factored in somehow. It's never been a great interest of mine. And yeah, from my point of view, it's never been something I've really come across, and it's a difficult one to sort of comment on when you've not had sort of great amounts of experience with it. I've seen footage of things,
I've researched it a lot.
Yeah.
It's always something that's fascinating me. I mean, you've got the giant sloth, only died up a couple of thousand years ago, and that was 25 foot tall at average. You can imagine just seeing that today, just lumbering around. So, we're discovering species every day. So, that spider. I mean, they just discovered a spider that the footage of it is terrifying. It's the size of a Jack Russell. That's terrifying.
Yeah.
Leave it alone.
Yes.
Leave it alone. No.
Right, so I've got a question here from Mandy Hill, and Mandy asks, basically she had negative experience with hauntings and spirits in her home when she was a lot younger, and she's afraid to open up to spirit now because of that experience. Any advice and guidance for her? I would say Do you want to feel this one first, or do you want me to go first, buddy?
If you're going to opening up yourself to spirit, right? Now, when I started, and I started in the church, I was told, because I was investigating the paranormal, that I would come up against negativity. If you're just doing readings and you're just conversing with spirit and you're passing that message on, that comes with its own protection. There's a different kind of ball game to what me and Jazz do, and me the guys who have worked with us over the years. It's a different kettle of fish. So if you're just gonna converse with spirit, but there is things you need to do to just keep yourself safe and protected, and it's like if you've seen people use a spirit board, and if you say only spirits of love and light, you set your intention. So if you want to open up or you want to speak to spirit, if you do it for a guided meditation, and you're protected a little bit more, because the intention of the meditation is to give you something joyful, and there's love intent in it and everything else. So it's an extra protection again. And if we have spirit guides, which most mediums do, they protect it. It's their job to keep you safe. So, just sort of start it. If you keep them things in mind, if you're going to go to the point where you want to communicate with spirit, that does come with a set of, protection instructions, if you like.
I would say to research it first. You've got to kind of make a peace with the experiences of the past, and that this will help you to do that. If you go down this road and you feel drawn to exploring it, it will actually help you to do that. It will help you to face that fear and help you to actually understand maybe what was going on during that time. It's like you get people who have gone through like the alien abduction experience, and when they've actually understood that experience, it's took on a completely different guise. Not every single time, but there have been times where it's took on a different guise to how we originally thought of it or perceived it. So what I would suggest is to research, to look into it. Don't just read books by mediums of how wonderful it is to communicate with spirit, but read books about people who've researched it. Read books about different types of things. So read maybe a bit about healing. Read a little bit about the paranormal. Read a little bit about spirituality. Maybe read a bit about... Try a plethora of different subjects and see what kind of works for you. So if you find yourself sort of intrigued by something, look into it. And then you can also look into, people that are helping others to develop. That's something that we are going to do in the coming months, is helping other people to develop. So that's already started with the videos that Richard's been doing and some of the other stuff that we're doing on this channel. But also don't just stick with one set of people. Look at a wide range of different ways of doing things, different opinions, and take what works for you and what feels right for you. Have the intention of going on this journey and seeking understanding, and don't hold any expectations as to the outcome. Just explore it and take it step by step, and take it as quickly or as slowly as you need to, because what you do find on this journey is 90% of it is what's inside you, and the rest is what's outside you. 90% of it is what is you reacting to your consciousness, your sort of how you fit in, how your personal sort of timeline has led you to this point. And as Richard says in his videos, consider why you want to do it, because that's a really hard question to be faced with. When I was faced with that question, a gentleman who was on a forum, because I didn't have many people around me when I started, and the first question he asked me is, why do you want to do it? And my response was, I want to talk to the dead. And he said, wrong answer. And I said, well, what's the right answer? I didn't realise there could be a wrong answer. So I elaborated further, and sort of become a little bit less defensive and jokey and say, well, no, I've had all these experiences. I want to know what's happening to me. I need to find answers. I need to explore myself and my connection with spirit and what that means to me. And he said that is the right answer. So it's what's the right answer for you. And if you're doing it for the right reasons, you'll find the right tools become available at the right time. Not before, not after. It literally will be at the right time. And the amount of times that's happened to us, where, you know, we've been given information or techniques of how to do things, and it's kind of just like, you know, it's a lot to take in at first, but you've got to kind of go through the process of learning and understanding and living through it. That would be my answer to that question. So the next question I want to ask comes from a family member, Rich, and it kind of changed tact a little bit. So shall we get the controversial question done?
Yeah, if you want to, go for it.
Well, we've had these messages from the Council of 12 talking about the people that run our world and all the different weird and wonderful things that they have done, and all the crooked sort of things that they have done. So the question I got asked was, should our Prime Minister and our government face a form of trial or prosecution for their role throughout the last 2 years with this pandemic, given what was said beforehand with Boris saying about taking it on the chin, and given now that apparently they are saying that at least 100,000 people are now dead compared to other countries where the death rate is a hell of a lot lower, should our politicians have to answer for their conduct during this pandemic?
Well, they should really have to answer for their conduct. Should they be prosecuted? Do we really believe? I mean, the real question is, should we keep allowing these ends of bells, shall we say, to run our country, like Hancock and Boris, bless him? And are they the real people in charge? And I mean, they have stumbled over this COVID crisis like buffoons. What should happen, in my eyes, is the truth should come out about the stats, the vaccine, where COVID come from, what it really is, and that information. And based on that, if that could come out, based on that information, then be punished accordingly. I think that's quite a big question in regards to everything that's going on. I mean, they're fining people now, and they're going to put people in prison who come to this country, or they're going to lock them in an hotel room for 2 weeks or whatever it is, and then they're on about jails. Just close the airports. This is the problem. See, they got special interest. They got money.
That is where I am like, yeah, they should, because of that. If they had closed the borders like Trump did and like several other countries did, if they had closed the borders, we could be in a lot different position right now, if you take what's on the face of it, right? But at the end of the day, there's been no clear communication from government to people, and the message throughout this has been ropey and dodgy as anything. And quite frankly, I think there should be some sort of recompense for this, because the 10 most richest people in the world have made between them $500 billion. The 10 most richest people in the world have made $500 billion from this pandemic. You know, the UK government's facing legal action now from £3 billion that's gone missing. That's gone to Boris's friends. And that stuff, I think, should come out. And I think all the other stuff around it will come out with it. Where this all came from, how it all started, and how it was allowed to happen. And the question, the second part for that question is: should people, like you just said, should we allow those people to continue running our country and continue running our lives?
No, this is going to continue forever if we don't sort this out now. This is what happened when we let super rich people get super rich. A lot of them, unfortunately, get super rich by cutting corners with bad intentions, and they become a little bit sinister, as you've all read, guys. As you've all read, it's a big open-ended question. So I mean, that's my opinion. You got to know the facts before you start prosecuting anyone.
Yeah.
So I've got a question. I just noticed a question. Missing this. It's a question saying about the missing 411.
It's a film. I think that was a film by. I think who's the guy from The Orchard? Andrew Corbell, or whatever his name is. Missing 411.
I just noticed in.
I haven't seen it. It's on Amazon Prime. Might be worth doing a show on that. Actually, it's one of the films that came out. It's one of the Orchard films, I think. And it's about the national parks and the amount of people that go missing in national parks.
We've been saying that. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, in regards to that, I mean, we've covered this before on the show, and I've talked about it a lot. I talked about it when I had Paranormal Wales. I mean, it's incredible. If we really knew how many people actually went missing, right? The thing is, they give prestige to certain cases. And like children in the UK, I mean, it's somewhere in the region of 20,000 children. And when they say missing, when they refer to the term as missing, that is without a trace. That is vanished off the face of planet Earth. Why it hasn't been brought to more attention is in the realms of conspiracy. But I mean, it's happening. It is happening all the time. It's crazy. I mean, in the last...
It's not even a hidden fact. You can look it up on Google. No. It's like you can Google it. Look, Google missing people, see how many people under 16 are actually missing, right? Because it was not long after the Savile inquiry I learned of this. It was around about 2013. And funny enough, the weird thing was, it was actually on the BBC. Because you've got people in Congress now talking about... I've been watching and following the Trump impeachment. And there goes our comments thread, because I've just said the name. Oh, no. I'm sorry. Yeah, I've been watching the impeachment of that haircutted man in the United States, and when they're saying about people believing in conspiracy theories about how many people go missing and things like that, the BBC were covering this. Children's charities were crying out about this and used the Savile inquiry when it was happening around 2013, 2014 to actually highlight this. And that's where the government did that, that kind of, that supposed inquiry into VIP paedophilia, which Theresa May basically presided over. Now, you've only got to look it up on Google and look at missing persons websites, and you will see, how many people actually, it is horrifying. It's like, you could literally trace a car to anywhere in the Western world. But people going missing, it is absolutely crazy. It is absolutely crazy. And just in the realms of the mainstream, it's dumbfounded. It's an eye-opener. Because I researched this before all this came about. It was around about the time where we had the first contact with the Council of 12, and it was around about the time my mind kind of opened, and I was looking at all this information, and the amount of stuff about that, absolutely. I've not actually seen that film. I do know of it. I know the people behind it. That I don't know them personally, but I know they are one of some of my favourite documentary film creators, because I appreciate some of the work they do in actually getting people to get their voices across. But I haven't seen that one for... No. Because I find it hard to watch, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I just haven't got around to actually literally watching it.
What one's that?
The Missing 411 film. I think it's 2 of them actually.
Oh, but yeah. Well, I'll have a look for it now after I've been brought my attention. A couple of questions in the chat. Amanda Twigs wants to know my thoughts on the reincarnation. I actually tagged in it. The surviving death.
Oh,
And I
Surviving
thought
Death and
it was,
Reincarnation.
yeah, we are going to actually, me and Jazz have talked about it, Amanda, and we are going to do just a show on that show. We're going to do a couple, and we're going to talk about it. And because I have been sharing your story with our new friends, Sammy, Purple Sammy is in the chat, and Lainey and Ben, and it's just tell them because it's extraordinary. Your own reincarnation story. I thought it was really well done, and I thought it needs more. It needs more focus on reincarnation. We need to bring more focus on it. It needs more to be documented and more, more programs about it.
I agree with that.
I thought it was just really well done. I thought that show. I got to be honest, it was a bit uplifting in the light of everything that's been going on lately. I got one off. We got one off. Purple Sammy.
Well, she was my next question.
Well, she's asked this one about fairies and stuff as well.
Right. Well, should we do? Well, we'll do that one first, and we'll go to her second question because she asked me one before the show started.
And yeah, elementals. Well, I've experienced. Right. We have actually investigated. As mad as this is going to sound, we've done a couple of investigations involving goblins. And I know that sounds crazy, right? If somebody told me 10 years ago that I would be investigating actual cases because they had a problem with goblins, I would have laughed at you. But no, even to the point we have kind of like photographs and stuff and evidence, which we will find and put up on the channel, if I'll ask permission. But I mean, over the years, I've seen spirits and come in contact with all sorts of spirits and beings, and personally I completely believe in these creatures. When I was about 18, I saw a small creature carrying a staff, looked like it was wearing sort of clothes, standing upright to run across the road in a place I grew up in Llanbradach, and it absolutely scared the sweet bejesus out of me. And I've seen the amount of reports that have come to me about people seeing, especially around mines and old abandoned mines and different things like that. I've had stories of seeing multitudes of these creatures, fairies, goblins, different creatures, elemental spirits. I've got a good friend, I don't know if they're watching this show now, but they had a picture, and it was the most incredible thing, and it was an elemental spirit watching them, and it was gold and white, and it was just peering around trees, and it followed them, and they had like 3 or 4 pictures of this thing. So yeah, I completely believe in stuff like that. Absolutely. As mad as it sounds, I absolutely believe in it.
What do you think of it this way? Everything that we experience is in the physical is made out of particles of light, of matter, basically, right? That they basically exist on a certain spectrum, and you get the light spectrum, which goes for the infrared to the ultraviolet. What we can perceive with our eyes is literally like a thimble, right? It's a speck of dust on that line.
2%.
Yeah,
2%.
Yeah, 2%. There's different frequencies. So you imagine like we have Wi-Fi here. So my phone, for example, will pick up an invisible frequency. So it is operating on a different frequency from my hands, for example, because I can't touch Wi-Fi signals, right? Spirit work in a very similar way. They work on different frequencies. So you imagine a stack of paper, and you have us as the bottom sheet, and then you have spirit on the sheet up from that, and there's others, and there's other beings and stuff, all like a block of paper. Obviously it's not quite like that, but that's just like a way of understanding it. So there's going to be different beings and different types of creation, entities, nature spirits, that sort of thing, that can exist on different levels of reality. I have had my personal experiences with fairies. I don't think it's a good idea to talk about on the show. But I can say that I've spent a lot of time around some sacred sites around here in Wales, and I have had genuine experiences where I have encountered mystical beings. I have worked, and one of the things that you remember, one of the things you said to me when we first met about riding a dragon, and it's like, I do believe that there's other realms of reality where these beings exist. It's like what you say about the term dragon. Every country on earth looks at it and the word sounds similar or starts with the letter D. Both the Chinese and the Welsh equate ley lines with dragon lines. So there is, I have had these experiences, and it's where I kind of draw the line is you can work with these different beings, but you're not always going to work with these. Sometimes they're just there. They're not there to work with you. They're just there. You're in their experience and their reality, and your experience and yours, and you just become aware of each other. And sometimes you can work with different beings and elementals and entities, but that's when it's a mutual benefit to them and to you. And there are things you can do that can really mess your life up with them. There's like the Torchwood episode with the fairies. There are some horror stories of people having, you disrespect these beings and entities, they'll kick your ass. So it's a lot more to it than we think. I remember David Attenborough quoting on saying we know pretty much everything that happens in the natural world. And as far as the physical natural world is concerned, yeah, I could say we know quite a bit. But as far as the full extent of nature and the natural world is, we know bugger all. It's a speck of dust on the tip of the iceberg, what we know.
Oh.
Any society will think that they know, because societies, they work on stability, on things being, or solidity, on things being solid. If something's solid, you can work with it. You can have consensus about it. When you get into this realm of things become more metaphorical, so to speak.
And if you're wondering if you do have a goblin in your house and you are wondering how to get rid of it, then you have to acknowledge it and you have to leave it out food. And their favourite foods are cheese, bread, fruit, and they like a beer as well, or wine. But I think they prefer the beer. You leave it out to acknowledge them. You say, I leave this here for you, and they'll bugger off because they've been acknowledged and they're not very, they don't like being they don't like their presence being known. I know, crazy that, right? I've had to do cases. We've done about 7 or 8 cases involving these creatures. It's, and once you do that, all the nonsense and the bad luck and the activity and the problems subside.
I would say seek advice before doing it, because each case is different. I would say seek advice before taking action, because you've got to work out and make sure that what you've actually got. Oh, you've got to know
you got one first.
Yeah, that. Sorry, I had to put that bit in, because people could think something's one thing, but it's actually something else. You have got to do the investigation work, and you can't just, if you do something and you do the wrong thing, you could then put yourself in a much more bigger world of hurt than you were in the first place. So if you're unsure, always ask and get help with it. Purple Sammy asked another question, which was, describe what happens to people after death. basically was the crux of the question that she asked. I'll see if I can bring up on. I'll see if I can just read out the full question. I just brought you up on screen a second, because I have the full question here, because it's very well thought out and read. Explain what you think happens when someone passes and their journey of crossing over, and counselling for those who need help on the afterlife. Right. I have a bit. I want to do a video on this about what happens when you die, because I have got some responses. Now, I have an interview, a segment that me and Richard shot back in 2018, where we tried to interview my brother over the ghost box, and the only question he wouldn't answer is what happens when you die. And there's a good reason for that, because I believe the situation is different for different people. It's the same process, but the perception of it is different for different people. It depends on what faith you followed, what background you have, what life experiences you have, how kind of aligned with your soul self you are. Because like you get some people who will go over, and the general consensus normally is that people see a tunnel of light or a light, they're drawn into that light, they are met by a guide or a loved one, and they are basically taken to where their home is, and they meet with the people that they're affiliated with who have passed over, and basically that's how they begin their life on the other side. With regards to counselling, my brother has told me one thing, and I'll show the spirit box response for this, is that when you're on the other side, what you've got to remember is you will remember your full life. So from your soul's conception till now. And you see it differently because you're not in that situation anymore. So you kind of become more, you still feel everything that you felt, but you're not in that situation in the same way as you were before. And spirits do have help. I have had dreams of loved ones where they've come to me and they've shown me where they're given a place, and that place is to heal and grow. That's another thing I've seen along the way with my journey. Some people, when I've crossed spirit over, see the sun, and they go towards the sun. There's a spirit box response about this as well, where they talk, and this is going to be part of our Surviving Death series, because the first one is going to be about, if I'm correct me if I'm wrong here, Richard, but the first one's going to be about near-death experiences and what happens when you die. Some people see Jesus. I have crossed people over, and they have seen the image of Jesus, because that's what they believed when they were alive. And I think it's different for everyone. I think the process is slightly different for everyone. It's a bit like your graduation. Everyone gets up and sort of gets the cap and gown on and sort of grabs the roll of paper from the dean of the university, but each person's experience of that graduation will be different compared to his or her experience. What would be your opinion to that, buddy?
I've seen and I've researched. Sorry, Paddy Peeps, if you just keep an eye on in the background for me, right? Because I'm feeling some activity behind me, and it's really distracting, and I've told it to back off. I did a bit of smudging today, and I did a video about cleansing your home, and I don't know if I've upset something or something's going on, but if you can just, I know you can't see much behind me, but just keep an eye out and put it in the chat.
Why don't we try and experiment a second, Rich? Why don't we go quiet for a couple of minutes and say if there is anything that wants to speak, because they're more than capable of saying something on this stream. Do you want us?
Well, normally, if well, they normally would, wouldn't they? We normally pick up EVPs when we're doing something that's important or something like that. But I'm just trying to see if there's anything going on behind me or in the background. If the parapeeps could just keep an eye on it.
Okay, cool.
Just to answer that question. I've researched it and I've experienced different outcomes, and I've seen someone who passes over. I've been sat by their bedside and I've seen their spirit leave. It was quite something. It was quite something, and I felt other energies.
I've had that experience too.
It's the kind of thing with, believe it or not, funerals. Now, males, as a rule, tend to like to go to their own funeral, and females are really not that. It's not something that they like. It is a preference thing. It depends on your belief and everything, because everything on that side of existence is all done to really to comfort you and to keep you, not from getting too overwhelmed or being frightened. Some spirits, there's many reasons why spirits don't go over to the other side. Some because they feel like they're going to be judged. Some feel like they see the light, they don't want to go. Some have genuinely no one to come and fetch them. So if you saw something in life, and even if you passed and you saw a being, it's still going to frighten you. Some people are just, it's just fear. That can keep us grounded and stuff like that. So there is many ways, and me and Jazz have over the years have learned to cross spirit, but we've learned to cross spirit over by asking spirit, and we've got some amazing responses for that, which we'll hopefully show in the show we're going to do about surviving death. So yeah, it is a big. I did see a question by Aaron, and I would like to answer about Lainey and Ben.
Before you do, there's something you dropped in there, buddy, and I think some people might be watching that and think, "Oh my God, that's awful." You mentioned about people. There's no one to come and get them. Now, I think we need to elaborate on that a little bit, because that I can imagine myself watching that 10 years ago, and that freaked me out. So I think we need to elaborate.
Like beings will come and fetch them. I don't mean this, but what I mean is, you imagine, even if you saw a being, right? Say you were just sitting here now, and an angel walked through the door. There's two outcomes. You're either going to be in awe for it, or you're going to shit your pants, isn't it?
Yeah, but when you said there's genuinely someone that's not going to come and get them, I don't. That's
no, they haven't got someone they recognise. I'm sorry, I worded it wrong. They've got someone they recognise is familiar to them.
Right, I've got
you. And I know of cases where a spirit has not recognised. They haven't got anyone to come and fetch them, and they've seen something, and it's frightened them. And when you've had a conversation with them, say, this is the process, this is what's going to happen, everything's fine. This being, reach out your senses, and you'll feel this love. But some people haven't felt love. It's not a simple thing.
Yeah, I got you saying though. Yeah,
it's quite complicated. That's what I meant by that question.
Yeah, I just wanted to sort of elaborate on that slightly, because I can imagine people watching that and going, "Oh, that's awful," but it's like drawing on.
I must have worded wrong.
No, it's all right, buddy. But there are instances where that is the case, that they can't go over for some reason. Like, for example, the case that we've shown on the channel with Amanda, with the reincarnation. It was because something had to happen first. And when you're at that point, it sometimes can take, you can be in a position where it takes someone here and someone here. Now, I'll give you an example about this. In the book, I'm not sure if it's Journey of Souls. I'm sorry, my webcam's acting up. I don't know if it's Journey of Souls or Destiny of Souls, but it's one of the two by Dr. Michael Newton. And you want to know about life after death, it's a really, really good book to read. It's a type, he specialized in a type of regression called life between lives hypnotic regression. So basically, it's a bit like Dolores Cannon's quantum healing hypnosis technique. It's a similar sort of thing, But rather than regressing people to past lives, he regressed them to the bits in between. And what he did is he interviewed them about that experience. And one of the things he details in that book, and it's quite amazing because there's certain things he describes that, and I actually remember when through my own regression and through my own dreams and communications, there's things he describes in that book which I've actually genuinely experienced. But one of the things he describes is a case where a person in their past life, when they crossed over, they had to go and collect a former life who was haunting a building. And we've had a case like that before, where I think it was a case with a young boy, wasn't it, where his older self came and gave his mother a message after he'd passed. So we have encountered that before as well, where sometimes something else has to happen at the right time. Now, what you got to remember is time doesn't work the same way on their side as it does for us. Minutes for them could be days, weeks, months, or years for us. So it's like there's quite a lot to go into with regards to. Sorry, buddy. I just, when you said that, then I thought, oh, someone might be watching that, and I didn't want to get the wrong idea.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, I didn't realise I said that. No, it's not like it does. Unfortunately, there's lonely people in the world, and there is, and sometimes things go wrong. And in that case, it was a child who was trying to teach his own mother about empathy because of the spirit that was haunting them, was belonging to the mum, and she just didn't want to know. And it was trying to teach her empathy. There is just like this harshness in the world, just like there's people living on the streets and there's kids who are hungry, their souls that get lost. So it's just life. It's just the way the world works. Sorry, there was a question about Lainey and Ben saying they had a child spirit. They were told they had a child spirit in their home. And they were wondering, are they strong enough to do some of the activity they're experiencing, or would they be too weak? Well, no, children's spirit, there's no difference when it comes to spirit.
You're only a child here. You're only a child here. When you're in spirit and you're born, you're pretty much energy. So you're not in any position to. The first thing I'd ask is, was it actually Lainey and Ben that asked the question?
I believe it was, yeah. Lainey and Ben, yep.
So you can see my stuff on my radiator behind me because I moved my chair. I apologise. I'm drying clothes. I didn't see them there. I apologise. Slightly embarrassing. Child spirits. Right. Well, yes, it can. I would, if it is actually Lainey and Ben are saying, I would say to let that child let itself be known when it's ready. Personally, that would probably be my thoughts on it. Let itself be known when it's ready, and you've got a connection with the spirit that you're working with, David, at the moment. So let that connection sort of thrive at the moment, and then see where it leads you. What would you say, Reg?
Children tend to not be negative or cause, mischievous. They are they're the type of spirits that hide your stuff, right? If your stuff ever goes missing, like a child, they pick it up and they just bugger off with it. It's their curiosity. So if you're experiencing paranormal activity in your home and stuff just vanishes and you don't find it for a couple of days, that's a little sort of hint that they may be young spirit in the house, right? And they've got that curiosity, and they don't think about it like we do as adults. We think a little bit more about things we do. But it depends if the spirit is there or not. Really, it's one of them the things. I mean, there's things you can ask. There's ways and means you can go about it. And it's as you would to a child. There's a way of presenting yourself to a child. And if you did have a child spirit, there's a specific and a certain way and a decorum that you present yourself.
You treat it
if
like a
you're
child.
dealing with child spirit. Yeah.
Treat it like, if that's
So
if that's how the spirit wishes to present itself, then you would treat it
Yeah.
like a child, and you would see why they were there, what they were after, and why they had come to you. You will find this if you're going down this kind of spiritual path. You will find spirits come to you. There's a message from Katie. I believe the name was Katie. Just double check. I apologize. Excuse me a second. I believe the name is. Just bring you up on screen a second, Rich, so I can look closer because my blindness. I believe Katie Ann. So the message. So she's asking, do people actually need to believe in an afterlife to make it over to the other side? And I would say to that a resounding no. This is the thing about people who believe in nothing, right? And people, I've got a lot of respect for people who are actually atheist. If you're, there is actually a belief system around atheism which I do admire, which is the fact that you are, you are the pinnacle of this evolution at this particular moment in time. But just because you don't believe, it doesn't. You're still a part of whatever this is. We call it spirit. If you were from a scientific background, you'd call it consciousness. If you're a Christian, you'd call it God. If you're a Muslim, you'd call it Allah. Or it's the same thing. And I think that what happens is that I would recommend people watch the show Medium with Patricia Arquette. Now, it's aired roughly in the 2000s, and it's based very loosely on a real-life psychic called Alison Dubois, who worked in law enforcement. Some of the stuff in that, although it's quite Christianized, a lot of the principle behind the things that happen in that can actually happen. I could probably pick up quite a few episodes out of that series and say I have genuinely had something very similar to those experiences. Is there any questions you want to pull up, Richard?
Let's have a look. I don't know. Have we got any more questions in the chat at the minute?
I've got one.
Purple Sammy did say, I did see her, she'd love to learn how to cross spirit over. But we do that. That's a personal thing. That's something we're not going to do on YouTube, Sam, because people, you don't want every Tom, Dick and Harry opening doorways to the other side, trying to bring spirits or trying to let them go, because it does. And if you're not sure what it feels like, what it's like, full stop, you can open up a can of worms. But then, no problem at all. Me and Jazzy are more than willing to show you how to do that.
Yeah.
If
I could show videos of us doing it, but the problem is, all you'll hear is me saying certain things. You don't actually know what I'm visualizing or the communication that's going on in the internal space that's happening. And there's a set of there's a structure to the way in which we do it, and you will find that once you kind of get the principle behind it, you can adapt that to the way that you work. I've had to do it in some... I've had to do it in some quite difficult situations, and it's not something that we would put up on YouTube or show on YouTube. I think when you're in a position that spirit need you to be to learn that information, I think it will come in the right way. And I think there's a reason why some of this stuff has to be done person to person. It can't just be done to a crowd like we're talking here, because you've got to be so careful in what you're doing, and what you've got to be aware of what's going on, what's happening, what the blocks are, different things like that. You have got to be quite aware. And quite frankly, you can... it can be quite overwhelming. I have had well, the first time a spirit ever asked me to be crossed over. I'm not going to say what it was or what the case was, but it absolutely screwed my head up, because it was, let's just say, a very well known case, and something appeared on a photograph that someone around me had taken, and that spirit came and asked me to be crossed over, and there was a lot involved in it that I'd known about beforehand, and it really screwed my head up. It really it screwed my head up, because there was a lot of stuff unknown about what had happened to that person, and that frightened me. And going back, like, now wouldn't bother me too much. Still does give me it still does break my heart, but there have been times, I'm sure you can attest to this as well, Rich, that there has been times where we have been put in some pretty tricky situations with doing this.
Oh God, absolutely. I mean, just been put in some situations. The whole caboose for doing the paranormal. I mean, Christ, I've had knives pulled out on me. I've had people just all of a sudden, get possessed, and they don't know what, they haven't got a jar of clue what they're doing. I've had friends attacked, which they've never done the paranormal again. There's so many things this is why when you see me say on the channel, I don't know what you want to know that for. You must be off your nuts. It's because it's coming from a place of going through it. It's a good question on it. Sally has put, where do all the bad people go then? What is hell? Sorry, I got orbs flying about and everything at the minute. It's magic. I'm
bringing you up on screen a second. So I've just got you at the moment, right? Because we're going to keep an eye on this activity that's happening. Oh, yes. So I got you on screen. So you can still hear my voice, but we'll keep you on screen. Go on.
Well, right. Now, when I did meditation, and when I first started, because I was doing security, I was experiencing a lot of paranormal activity on myself. And when I first started meditation and real conversing with spirit, I had the same questions. And I have a lot of people who have come to me, which we're going to talk about in the Surviving Death series, because they have had near-death experience. And unfortunately, a couple of people that have come to me for help, I believe they have gone to hell, and they believe they have been on the other side of that gate. Now, hell in the biblical sense, right, is ridiculous, right? Hell in the biblical sense is just beyond ridiculous, right? I personally believe that it is our conscious. Now, you imagine, and I'll try and give you an example. Say you were racist. Say you were a racist, right, which is, in all stretches of the imagination, a ridiculous concept. And you're in the same queue as the person you put all your racist hate on. And you go into the same place. You're standing next to them. And what are you going to say? What are you going to feel, right? When somebody's telling you why. Half of the people don't even know why they're racist. It's because they've listened to the television. And, like terrorism and stuff like that, and you tar people with that brush and everything, and it's your subconscious. It's all the people you put hate on, or you oppress people. And we were talking about this today. It's like Leviticus, where it says a man shouldn't lie with another man, right, in the Bible, right, as he does with a woman. It's nonsense. It's absolute friggin' nonsense. But your consciousness, all the things you do, if you're a bad egg, you have to sit, and you have to get shown it. And maybe, and I believe this, that you unfortunately get to be the victim, right, of like your own crime, right? That is a lesson learned. And I think it's the darkness, it's the emptiness. You just sit there to leave with your thoughts, and you don't get to rejoice in the things that spiritual enlightenment and love bring. And I think that's the version of hell. And yes, the really evil people, the really like sick, twisted people, they are sent somewhere and they sort of like, instead of progressing, they sort of digress. Like they just, and
They
they
eventually
get
just
to
become
Thursday
destroyed.
night.
They just destroy
Yeah,
themselves
eventually,
because
yeah, they can do. They, if they're beyond saving, a soul can be put in that predicament.
yeah, you
You know,
either
there is when there's free will, and if you think about the good, when thought first appeared in the universe and the contract between good and evil, because that's what it is. It's both in all of us, every single one of us. None of us have just have more. It's 50-50. We choose a side, and there are beings who are, and there are people who are just innately cruel and evil. And yeah, it comes to a point, instead of putting him back on the earth to get him to suffer, to make anyone else suffer, they will be basically put in a jail. But as for the burning, and eternal fires for some of the things that the Bible says, I mean, that beyond is ridiculous. Is ridiculous for the silly mistakes people can make quite easily. But yeah, for the really, really bad people, there is like a spiritual prison, if you like, but it's not in the way you describe it. True kindness and love doesn't want to cause punishment and harm in that sense, really, if you think about it.
no,
So that answers that question.
yeah. I think it's there are certain instances where I think that the thing is, when you would look at evil, if we will call it evil, it there's a lot of things in this world that people call dark that are not necessarily evil. They're not necessarily, they're just different, and how we understand them is different to how they actually are. And because we don't understand their nature, then, so to speak, we see them as, it's like, for example, the stuff we have in the ghost box. You know how many people, when we've shared, have said you're talking to demons, and I'm like, well, okay, but I'm willing to talk to anyone that's willing to speak about love, light, and how we can all come together and make a better world for ourselves, our fellow humans, and future generations, because we are the people that will inherit the future generations. We are continuously coming back to this world and others like it. So, the future generations could quite conceivably be us. So any being that wants to talk about that, I'm open to learning about. The problem is because a lot of this stuff is outside people's realms of understanding, it's massively simplified and manipulated. The biblical concept of hell says nothing about what happens in the spirit world, but says everything about what's happening here on earth. If you actually look into the nature of how religions controlled people and how the alignment of church and state throughout, and the history of a lot of these modern religions, and compare them to the sort of more ancient nomadic religions and belief systems, there's a huge sort of element of that which is based on control. I'm not saying that it means it invalidates those texts, far from it. It's just that it's better to, if you're going to manipulate a society or get a society to follow a certain set of principles and laws, you may as well take something that people already believe in and manipulate it into a certain way, rather than create something new altogether. And yeah, so there is a whole, there's such a complex puzzle in the sense behind all this, that I don't think that we would fully understand it, or could fully portray it, because I think it's one of those things that you kind of have to live it. to understand it, if that makes sense. How's that activity going there, Rich?
I'm trying to keep an eye on it. I don't know, there's been a lot of paranormal activity. It's ramping up at the minute. It's ramping up. I'm getting a lot. This is crazy. I'm getting a lot of messages from people saying I got paranormal activity. And when I'm saying, do you want help? I'm not getting no responses. And this has happened, I'm not joking, probably about 11, 12 times in the last couple of weeks. It just seems to be happening. The paranormal is just sort of like, it's just the energy of everything that's going on at the minute. I mean, everybody's sort of lost in it and caught up in this fear bubble that's being created around us all at the minute by this invisibleness, this invisible enemy. So obviously they want to get me attention. When I finish the show, I'll sit and converse and find out what's going on. Hopefully they'll give me some answers. We have some more questions. We have another question from Nadine Ben.
Yeah.
Have either of us experienced past lives?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I may as well feel this one. Yes, I have experienced past lives. I have recognized people from my past life on several occasions. I have had people that I share past life memories with. And I have had regression hypnosis. I had regression hypnosis in 2009. And I have remembered a lot of the times, the past lives will come to me in dreams. I actually had one a couple of days ago, in fact, where I was part of a cult, I believe, and I wanted to get out of it. The one I had that shocked me the most through dreams was I dreamt of an explosion in a village in around about the India-Pakistan area. And I watched a show, an episode of Ancient Aliens. I think it's like in the 3rd season. And they talked about this mysterious Pompeii-like event that happened in the Middle East. Except there was no volcano. And they talked about that. And the village they showed, the ruins they showed, was exactly what I saw in my dream. But the one I had through regression, I went into like a trance state. And I was like, you're still aware of what's around you. It's like you don't care. I was in Louisiana, and I think I was in about the 17 or 1800s. I think it was around about the time of the Civil War. And I actually got shot off a horse. And I actually remember my death from that life. I remember how hard that life was. I actually burst into tears when I had that memory, because that was a really, really difficult lifetime that I had. I remember bits and pieces. So I can remember like certain affiliates. It's like we had when a gentleman, Andrea, had come on the show a few weeks ago, and he showed me this this colonel from it's American history. I'm not sure exactly when it was. I'm not sure if it was the Civil War or the War of Independence. And I recognised this guy. I couldn't tell. I know the name because he told me the guy's name, and I recognised it. It was like, and I do have that. It's like certain triggers. They're like, you've come across this before. I've had messages from Jonathan in the Now Investigations where he's talked about past lives that we have both shared. Around about the time of Henry VIII and the Battle of Arlon. So there's quite a few little niggly bits and pieces. Now, whether or not... The thing is, sometimes you can be given a direct past life experience, like in regression, and sometimes you could be given like an event, and you're like, you were around at that point, and you experienced something surrounding that event. So, yeah, I've had lots of past life experiences. But you, Richard, you had one actually on this show.
Yeah, I haven't had, I gotta be honest, I had dreams when I was a kid about being in a concentration camp, which I don't want to talk about because it's just not a type show. The lady we had on about who did past life regression,
Deborah,
said she saw me as a World War II pilot, which I didn't think of it at the time. My partner did message me. didn't get to check it was like I do have a terrible, absolutely horrific fear of flying, and I have a really weird thing for jackets, but specifically Air Force jackets, bomber jackets. They might just I got a thing for them, which is weird. I did have one once when we met this group on YouTube called Paranormal Scholars, which we did a documentary with called In Search of the Dead. I think it's still on Vimeo, I think. And I had a past life blip, if you like, when I met the girl who hosts that show, Laura, which was kind of strange. Don't know if it was like something I saw in her life and I projected it onto mine. I'm not sure, but that was kind of weird. But that's never really wanted to know, to be honest. So never kind of delved into it. Always been a bit sort of cautious about what kind of information would come up from a past life regression. So I've always been a bit not sure if I like it.
Right, well, I'm gonna quick fire down the chat, okay? Because there's a few comments here, and I want to see. We're coming to the end of the show, so I want to see we've addressed everyone, okay? So I'm just going to Wispy Pixie says, "Oh, I should make a video, but we were driving out. A navigation kept saying turn right, turn right. We would have gone over a cliff. Then we almost hit a cow. Oh Lord, it's a long story." We've actually had that during one of our investigations. Emma said about Surviving Death, it's such a good series. Amanda said she made her feel much better. There's a couple of redacted messages from people here. I don't know whether you guys have redacted them yourselves or if we have been having issues with the chat and people not being able to comment. So if any of you have had that problem, please let us know when the show goes on to, or just drop us an email, paranormalnow@outlook.com, because we have had issues where people have not been able to respond to comments on our live chat. There was a couple of questions here that I wanted to address. If you just bear with me a second while I bring these up. So Emma wants to say, I was one of the people that messaged you, Richard. I passed your advice on to my mum. I've actually done past life readings for people. Never actually thought of offering it. If anyone's interested, let me know. Right, there was a question. I don't know who's asked this, but they talked about spirit coming to see different family members on the same night. And I just want to draw a comment onto that. Yes, that can happen. I've actually known my brother to be in two places at once when I'm on the phone. And I can feel his presence and the person at the other side can feel his presence. What you've got to think of, to spirit, space as we see it doesn't exist. They create the space in which they work with us. So you think they hold a space. We do the same thing. If you're doing like a group guided meditation with a group, one of the things I do is I actually create a space. So if I'm doing a development group over Zoom or TeamSpeak or whatever, I'll create an image of like a room where everyone sits and like a ring of chairs, like a physical circle, and that's the space I work from. And I create that in my mind, and that's the image I hold and allow spirit to come in and work that way. So a similar thing can happen with them, is that they can literally be in two places at the same time, because they can come out of like they can come and see you at 5:30, then come back from that time and go back into 5:30 where your mother sees them at the same time. Or if there's a link between you, they can actually sort of connect via that link. Same way how people do readings from like over Skype and over the internet and that sort of thing. The space is very similar actually to the meditation you did, Rich. Where you created a space that spirit. That's one of the other things that you can do. You can hold a space for something, and again, you know, it comes with that ability to understand how to open the space, close the space, and that sort of thing. You know, and that's the kind of stuff that, you know, we would probably be better to teach people how to do face to face. But spirit can do that, and that's kind of how they work. If anyone is interested more a little bit about that, check out the video. It's in the Conversations with Jonathan playlist. Check out the video we did on dreams and how spirit work with us in our dreams, and that will add a bit of further clarification to that question. Do we have any more questions, or shall we come to the end of the show, my friend?
We have one off Purple Sammy. She said, when Lainey and Ben were told by a medium called Deborah that they had a little girl at the age of 4, she said, I was very upset that she spoke to her so awfully, and I wanted to help her cross over. Well, she should have done that if there was a spirit there who, you know, it's the first thing. Me and Jazz have a very famous story where we were kicked out of a very famous building here in Wales that is very haunted, and because we did that very thing, because we were asked to. If spirit ever ask us for help, we help them. That's our priority, right? And we don't taunt, we don't lie, we don't taunt, we don't try none of that malarkey, right? Spirits, they want to talk to you, they don't. We don't provoke them or push them, and we don't get them to perform like circus animals.
You treat them how you would want to be treated. As simple
like
as
a
that.
Person, they're a person.
You treat them how you want to be treated.
Person like shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I understand now why you wanted so much to cross that spirit over, if that spirit is real at all. But you know, she should have. That's her duty. She has a duty to do something like that if she is who she says she is.
I never forget the security guard that was trying to take notes as to why we were being left out. I had to explain to him about crossing spirits over. It was. Do you remember that?
Yeah, we were escorted by security.
We were escorted by security off the premises for crossing spirit over this famous castle in Wales, and they tried to come at us and say, they said they were going to sue us. Yeah, they were going to sue us, and we both turned around to them and said, "Make our day." Because first of all, you'd have to prove the spirits exist, and the second thing is you'd have to prove they are people, and 3, then you'd have to prove they are property. And last I checked, people can't be property. That's called slavery. So make my frigging day.
Yeah, that is actually absolutely true. That was because the spirits asked us. They come to a seance. It was a shambles of a night. Mind, there was another ghost group that was supposed to be taking the night. We went as guests.
We took the night.
We took the night.
We had no equipment. That's it. It was like paranormal on the fly. To be honest,
it was paranormal. Rub sticks together.
I think
it was Yeah, no, it did really happen. But I mean, you should. That's priority. That is whatever the spirit needs. That's what we treat spirit exactly the same as we treat people. If you need help, help's there.
I never forget.
Whatever you need, that's.
I never forget one of the cases that we did. That we felt. I felt awful because you had trouble getting there, and by the time you got there, we crossed the spirit over because I got there and it was straight away in my face. We need to cross the spirit over, and you by the time, because I think you got caught up in traffic or you'd had car trouble or something. By the time we got there, it was like I felt really bad. I did, but you can on times be in that situation where you've got to think of the wealth. If you're in a case, when you're dealing with paranormal in someone else's house, you've got to think of the welfare of the people in front of you first and foremost, the people there who live in that house. And you've got to think of the welfare of the spirit. Anything else, collecting evidence or anything else, that comes second. And there are plenty of spirits out there who want this story to be told. That's the reason they do it. They want their story to be told. They want to have that interaction with you. They want, because something is holding them back, and being able to tell that story helps them. Like, it's just like when, you know, we have pent up emotion, or we go through difficult situations in our lives, and sometimes telling our story or talking to someone, opening up about it, helps us find the solutions to them. And that's all you're doing. You're basically acting like counsellors. You're just counselling them on the other side. It's the same thing, basically. And, you know, anything else about this kind of like going in and sort of provoking and turning this into a circle, you don't need it. There are plenty of spirits that will, you know, and what this is what, and I've said this is why I find Ben and Laney's work that they do so fascinating, because they've done this every single step in the right way. And they've done it by building the relationship with that spirit, and finding out and researching it, and sort of, I think it was meant to be. I think there's something that's part of their journey, like the, you know, the experiences we had, like experiences you had in meditation, the experience I had with the alien in the doorway, and the experience I had with my brother. You know, all of these experiences are designed to help us on this journey and help bring that understanding and that excitement. And, you know, I think it was summed up, there was a medium, I can't remember her name now, but it was on like one of the paranormal shows, British ones, back in the 90s, or the noughties, sorry. And like she always said to people, and I kind of like this, is like, it can be fun, it can be exciting, it can be extraordinary, but it's not a game. And the paranormal is not a game. And you could be sitting there for hours and not have anything, or go to cases and go and do investigations, and you don't think you've got a damn thing. The hospital case that we did, the abandoned hospital, was one of the best EVPs we ever captured. We come away from that night thinking it was an absolute disaster. And so when you do it the right way, you will get that you get the best out of it. You get the best out of it.
Yeah.
Is any further
absolutely.
questions, my friend?
I think we've exhausted all the questions. I mean, there's been some incredible chat tonight and you know, the guys are sort of like ask questions and just chatting amongst themselves, which is great. This way, the conversation is there to be had, and I think that's amazing, guys. And thank you all so much for your comments. I mean, they mean the world to us, and the feedback as well. I've had some amazing feedback on the meditation video I did, because I want to know if it helps, because I've been through all these things and I got coming from a place of understanding. I've been doing this, oh my God, too long, way too long, ridiculous. And you know, it's just progressing. We're just getting on our feet. You know, this is all a learning process for us as well, the YouTube. I mean, when it comes to the paranormal, we have done it on a wing and a prayer, and we've sailed through it, right? Because that's what we do.
Have we really?
I got no. Some of the cases we've turned up, and unfortunately, people don't like. They want, you know, they think, oh, you know, we'll have this medium by now, and then when you come to their house, and then it's different. But we have been checked into some extraordinary cases and happenings. And we, you know, but when it comes to this, the YouTube and you guys and trying to teach you about it, it's not about, we're not doing it. You know, we have incredible evidence. We have some of the best evidence I've ever seen. But it you know, it's getting it across to you guys and being, you know, and showing you and giving you an understanding, so we can progress together, basically. And that that's why I love the chat. And I love the para peeps that come on here, because they can have a conversation. That's the great thing about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to be providing more forums for that to happen. I am actually hard at work doing it. It's taking longer than I thought, but I want it done properly. So within the next couple of weeks, and I know I've been saying this for the last 2 months, but I have genuinely been working on it for the last 2 months, and I'm hoping that when it's done, it's gonna Both of us been working on it in several ways, and you know, it takes a while to put these ideas into practice, given the amount of evidence that we've collected over the course of the last 8 years. And I think we've done that the right way. We've not actually sort of, you know, we have done bits and pieces of videos, but it was only last year we started doing this regularly. And I was chatting to someone about this today, and I was saying, like, you know, we've actually got to that point now where we've built up the body of work. It's just now is the task of putting it across to people and showing people that, because we haven't just done it for the limelight or whatever, you know. We built it up over time, and getting the chance to speak to you guys and share this with you guys is a privilege. It's a privilege.
Yeah, definitely.
Guys,
absolutely.
Thank you very much for watching. I'm Jared Walters.
I'm Richard Oliver.
And remember, love each other and love yourselves. Take care.
Have a night, para peeps. See you in the next one.
Bye for now. And we still don't have credits. I don't know what's happened to that video.
Should I just move up slowly with my Paranormal Now t-shirt? I got. So it looks like credits.
I got. Do it. Do it. Go on.
That was quite Star Wars, wasn't it?